I just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about um, those moments when you're triggered, and maybe if you've been doing shadow work and addressing old wounds. Sometimes the way we find out about an old wound we need to heal in the first place is when we get triggered by something. And so I experienced this past week, and I just wanted to share my process on how I handle it at the moment and how I walk through addressing the triggering. So, for context, I grew up very lonely as a kid. I basically feel like I didn't get to socialize like I needed to, and one of my big wounds was that it was extremely hard for me to make friends, and I wanted friends so bad, to the point where I would cry about it at night, and I just always wanted to feel included and like have a friend group and have a bestie, and I never had it. And it was like that from, I think, middle school all the way through high school. I never went and like hung out with people outside of school. I just went school home, and that really bothered me. And so then I would get all of my companionship out of my romantic relationships, which is a whole nother story. Sorry, y'all, I know it's loud. That's a whole nother story. But I'm trying to paint the picture of how I felt really isolated. One of the side effects of feeling that isolation is that in my mind, I've noticed a pattern that I tend to automatically put me versus them whenever I am in any group setting with more than one person. So at work, um, I was feeling really sensitive that day, and in my head, I set up that pattern of me versus them, and so it became, um, none of them really like me, and that no matter how much, no matter how kind I am, no matter how amazing I am, it's always still going to be me versus them because they've known each other longer. So we're never going to have that kind of relationship. And it just continued to um, escalate from there. And it really triggered that wound in me. And I was starting to feel really lonely and maybe like even ostracized. So when I caught myself doing that, what I did in that moment was I've learned to see myself as two people. I separated that version of me that was feeling those thoughts, that was feeling hurt and triggered, as the sage that is, you know, still going through the process, almost like the earth sage, okay? And I realize that there's a separate part of me that stands in her power, that knows that none of those things are true and that we're really just chilling. I focus on her instead because I recognize that both of those people exist at the same time. All versions of you exist at the same time because time doesn't really exist, right? All it really is a series of present moments. Kid you is here, teenage you is here, you now is here, the older versions of you are all here right now. But that's another story. So yeah, I do that separation, and then I take a I do that separation, and then I take a page out of the gentle parenting sphere, and I treat that version of me that is triggered as if it were my child. And so that would look like me letting that child experience those emotions, because I can both experience those emotions and also recognize that that emotion doesn't define me, or even that they're not true. And I give myself grace that even, if I decide to get quiet, that's okay. We don't have to talk. If I look a little down, or if I have resting sad face, why do I have to put on a performance to appease other people or make them comfortable with what I'm going through? I learned to be honest during this time. If someone asks me like, hey, you're okay, you look a little down, I don't do that whole, oh no girl, I'm fine. I don't do that no more. I say, you know what, I'm having a moment right now, but we gonna be fine later. If I'm a little quiet, then I promise it's not about you. I'm sorting through some stuff in my mind right now. And every time I've done that, I've noticed that people are receptive to that. And they're like, oh, girl, I totally feel you. Let me know if you need anything, right? And then, it's funny when I decide to just really feel that emotion, to not try to hide it or cover it up. I've noticed that the emotion tends to kind of just settle down on its own. I heard this fact. Now, I didn't fact check it, so I'm not entirely sure if it's true, but it resonated with me. But technically, if you decide to really just sit in an emotion and feel it, your emotion only lasts for like 2 to 5 minutes or something like that, or at least the intensity of it. And so I feel like that is the case because that has been my experience. And I genuinely do feel better if I don't try to um, hurry up and run from this emotion or hurry up and fix it. Sometimes you just need to feel it. I've been doing this for a while, so sometimes, well, not sometimes, usually the order is a little bit different because I know myself so well now and I'm so used to having that inner dialogue with myself that it works out this way. But for you, if you're just starting out learning how to work through your emotions, basically, once you identify the emotion, right, and you say, okay, what am I feeling? You're gonna get to a point where you're like, okay, well, why am I feeling this way? What triggered me? And once you identify the present event that just triggered you with something connected to in the past that first triggered you, that's when you can begin to reconcile that emotion and say, oh, okay, I'm feeling angry because what I just experienced reminded me of something that I went through 5 years ago. And sometimes just having that understanding of why you're feeling this way really helps to give you back your power over your sense of self and what you're currently experiencing. Once you understand that connection, that's generally where the shadow work comes into play. I made a video about that. I'll link it in the description if you haven't seen it. But I, I want you to keep in mind that just because you recognize a trigger and something that you need to work on doesn't mean that you have to stop everything and work on it in that exact moment. I feel like the trap of shadow work is there's always something for you to work on. There's always something for you to heal. There's always ways to better yourself. And I don't want anyone to fall into that trap because it's just perfectionism in disguise. And there's nothing wrong with you. When you do these things, it's literally just for you to feel better. It's not for you to, present yourself differently or do better in society or, work on your dreams. All of those things are good. And if those are things that you really care about, then do that by all means. But at the base of it all, it's really about doing what satisfies you and what makes you feel better. And so don't think that just because you got triggered today, oh man, I need to hurry up and get on that and work on that so I don't get triggered anymore. And I'm saying this because I had to tell myself the exact same thing this week when I experienced that trigger at work. Those were my tips. I hope this was clear and concise and that I didn't ramble too much. Let me know your thoughts. If you feel comfortable, I would love to hear something that you're currently working on, or maybe something that has triggered you within the past week. But yeah, that's all I got for y'all today. I will see you in the next video.